Throughout history, there have been many partitions of countries from ancient times to the present, but there have also been proposed partitions that could have happened but for various reasons never did. A few years ago, I made 2 videos on proposed partitions that could have happened. One for Europe, another for the Americas. Now, as promised, I'm finally doing the next video, this time on the proposed partitions of Africa and the Middle East. I'm just 2 years late, that's all. No biggie, right? Let's get into it. After World War II, the Allies administered Italy's former colonies, and they had various ideas on what to do with them. In the case of Libya, it was partitioned by the United Kingdom and France for a few years before given independence in 1951 as a joint Kingdom of Libya. However, one of the proposed partitions of Libya included an occupation zone for the Soviet Union in Tripolitania. The man who in our timeline became the king of Libya was the Emir of Cyrenaica, which was a part of the British zone. It is unlikely that the Soviets would have accepted allowing him to rule all of Libya under a monarchy, so it's possible that if this original Allied partition would have happened, Cyrenaica would have remained a separate nation from Libya, and perhaps Libya would have become a communist state during the Cold War, but we'll never know. So for the next partition, we'll move to the Middle East and go to the Treaty of Sèvres. Okay, I need to look that up. Treaty of Sèvres. Sèvres. Okay, yeah. The treaty which ended Ottoman involvement in World War I and, well, partitioned it. Now, this partition did actually happen, but there was one clause of it that never ended up happening, mainly because between 1920 and 1923, Turkish forces under Mustafa Kemal Ataturk managed to pull off military victories against their neighbors, which convinced them to draft another treaty, the Treaty of Lausanne, to negotiate Turkey's borders. One of the things that this new treaty overturned was a clause in the previous treaty stating that there would be plans for a referendum for an independent Kurdistan, further partitioning Turkey. While there were a few disputes over the area covered by a plebiscite, the general idea seemed to be roughly this area. Perhaps there could have been a situation where the Treaty of Lausanne still gave Turkey back control of areas taken by Greece and parts of French Syria, but the Allies could have decided to hold Ataturk to still go along with the referendum anyway, as a part of agreeing to give Turkey back any land at all. Perhaps Kurdistan could have become a British protectorate similar to Iraq. Who can say? But hypothetically, you could be seen in Anatolia looking like this. Real quickly before we move on to the next partition, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, Ridge. Ridge makes cool metal wallets with a sleek design, and they come in many designs you can choose from. All of your cards are now together instead of lost between a dozen pockets, and water won't ruin it like it can with a typical cheap leather wallet. If you use the code EMPEROR with the link below, you can get 10% off of your own Ridge purchase. So be sure to get a Ridge wallet today. Or if you don't want a wallet, you can also get one of their many other fine products too, like their awesome key case. You won't be disappointed either way. Thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. This third partition, I'm going to be stretching the prompt a little, but allow me to explain. So after World War I, the colonies of the German Empire were ceded to the Allies, and 2 of them, Togoland and Cameroon, were partitioned between the British and French. In 1961, a year after French Cameroon became an independent country, the British held a referendum for the British Cameroon colony on whether to join Nigeria or Cameroon. In the end, though, the southern half voted to join Cameroon and the northern half voted to join Nigeria, so they partitioned it and decided to give us the border we have now. But back in 1956, there was a similar referendum for British Togoland. There was a choice on whether to join what would eventually become the independent state of Ghana, or to remain a UN trust territory until French Togoland decided on independence. As it so happened, 58% voted to join Ghana, and so British Togoland joined Ghana. However, 55% of the southern area voted for UN trusteeship. So while there was no option for a partition of British Togoland, since that did end up happening for British Cameroon a few years later, I don't think it would be too weird to think of the British maybe deciding, okay, what if we partition British Togoland between Ghana and Togo, giving us something like this? Or if they wanted to divide it along the Oti River, then perhaps like this. For the fourth and final partition, we gotta go with the biggest hotspot on the planet, Israel-Palestine. In 1947, the UN famously proposed this partition between British Palestine for an Arab state and a Jewish state. The Jewish population of the region approved it, but the Arab population rejected it, and the First Arab-Israeli War broke out shortly thereafter. Technically, this partition never went into effect, so you could count it for this video. But before that proposal was agreed upon, there were two other partition plans up for debate, named the minority and majority proposals. The majority proposal is a lot closer to the final approved partition plan, especially with the inclusion of the proposed international zone for Jerusalem. It's hard to imagine any of these proposals still not resulting in one side not approving and a war breaking out, but at the same time, if any one of these somehow became the agreed upon solution, this would have changed modern Middle Eastern geopolitics quite a bit. And that'll be where I end this video. Like the previous videos of this series, the higher res maps will be available for my patrons on my Patreon, which you can go to if you wish to support my channel and keep it going. Since I have previously made possible partition videos about Europe and the Americas, that means the next video of this series will be the final one, possible partitions of Asia and the Pacific. This time, it won't take 2 years. Until then, I'm Emperor Tiger Star, and I'll see you guys next time.